Smith had showed her the year before, and in those pictures you really couldn't see very much. But Victor's was quite big, and there was a cloudy fuzz of fine black hair just over it. Bill has one of those, she thought, and suddenly her whole body seemed to flush at once. Heat rushed through her in a wave that made her feel giddy and faint and almost sick to her stomach. In that moment she felt much the way Ben Hanscom had felt on the last day of school, looking down at her ankle bracelet and observing the way it flashed in the sun. But he had not felt the intermixed sense of terror she felt now. She looked behind her once more. Now the pathway between the cars leading to the shelter of the Barrens seemed much longer. She was scared to move. If they knew she had seen their things, they would probably hurt her, and not just a little. They would hurt her badly. Belch Huggins bellowed suddenly, making her jump, and Henry yelled, "3 feet! No shit, Belch, it was 3 feet! Wasn't it, Vic?" Vic agreed it was, and they all roared with troll-like laughter. Beverly tried another look around the junk Studebaker. Patrick Hockstetter had turned and half risen so that his butt was nearly in Henry's face. In Henry's hand was a silvery glinting object. After a moment's study, she made it out as a lighter. "I thought you said you felt one coming on," Henry said. "I do," Patrick said. "I'll tell you when. Get ready. Get ready. It's coming. Now!" Henry flicked the lighter. At the same moment, there was the unmistakable ripping sound of a really good fart. There was no mistaking that sound. Beverly had heard it enough in her own house, usually on Saturday night after the Beans and Franks. A regular bear for his beans was her father. As Patrick blew off and Henry flicked the lighter, she saw something that made her jaw drop. A bright blue jet of flame appeared to roar directly out of Patrick's bum. To Bev it looked like the pilot light on a gas burner. The boys roared their troll-like laughter, and Beverly withdrew behind the sheltering car, stifling mad giggles again. She was laughing, but not because she was amused. In some very weird way it was funny, yes, but mostly she was laughing because she felt a deep revulsion accompanied by a sort of horror. She was laughing because she knew of no other way to cope with what she had seen. It had something to do with seeing the boys' things, but that was by no means all or even the great part of what she felt. She had known, after all, that boys had things, the same way she knew that girls had different things. This was only what you might call a confirmed sighting. But the rest of what they were doing seemed so strange, so ludicrous, and yet at the same time so deadly primitive, that she found herself, in spite of the giggling fit, groping for the core of herself with some desperation. "Stop," she thought, as if this were the answer. "Stop, they'll hear you. So just you stop it, Bevy." But that was impossible. The best she could do was to laugh without engaging her vocal cords, so that the sounds came out of her in a series of almost inaudible chuffs. Her hands pasted over her mouth, her cheeks as red as mac apples, her eyes swimming with tears. "Holy shit, that hurts!" Victor roared. 12 feet, Henry bellowed. "I swear to God, Vic, 12 fucking feet. Vic, 12 fucking feet. I swear to my mother's name. I don't care if it was 20 fucking feet. You burned my ass off." Victor howled, and there was more bellowing laughter. Still trying to giggle silently from behind the sheltering car, Beverly thought of a movie she had seen on TV. John Hall had been in it. It was about this jungle tribe. They had a secret rite, and if you saw it, you got sacrificed to their god, which was this big stone idol. This did not stop her giggles, but infused them with a nearly frantic quality. They were becoming more and more like silent screams. Her belly hurt. Tears streamed down her face. 3. Henry, Victor, Belch, and Patrick Hockstetter ended up in the dump lighting each other's farts on that hot July afternoon because of Rena Davenport. Henry knew what resulted from consuming large amounts of baked beans. This result was perhaps best expressed in a little ditty he had learned at his father's knee when he was still in short pants. "Beans, beans, the musical fruit, the more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel, then you're ready for another meal." Rena Davenport and his father had been courting for nearly 8 years. She was fat, 40, and usually filthy. Henry supposed that Rena and his father sometimes fucked, although he could not imagine anyone squashing his body down on Rena Davenport's. Rena's beans were her pride. She soaked them Saturday nights and baked them over a slow fire all day Sunday. Henry supposed they were okay. They were something to shovel into your mouth and chew up anyway. But after 8 years, anything lost its charm. Few beans. She cooked them in job lots. When she turned up Sunday evenings in her old green DeSoto, a naked rubber baby doll hung from the rearview mirror, looking like the world's youngest lynch mob victim, she usually had the Bowers' beans steaming on the seat beside her in a 12-gallon galvanized steel pail. The three of them would eat the beans that night, Rena raving about her own cooking all the while, crazy Butch Bowers grunting and mopping up bean juice with a piece of Sonny Boy bread, or simply telling her to shut up if there was a ball game on the radio. Henry just eating, staring out the window, thinking his own thoughts. It was over a plate of Sunday night beans that he had conceived the idea of poisoning Mike Hanlon's dog, Mr. Chips. And Butch would reheat a mess of them the next night. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Henry would take a Tupperware box full of them to school. By Thursday or Friday, neither Henry nor his father could eat any more. The house's 2 bedrooms would smell of stale farts in spite of the open windows. Butch would take the remains and mix them into the other slops and feed them to Bip and Bop, the Bowers' 2 pigs. Rena would like as not show up the following Sunday with another steaming pail, and the cycle would start all over again. That morning, Henry had put up an enormous quantity of leftover beans, and the 4 of them had eaten the whole lot at noon, sitting out on the playground in the shade of a big old elm. They had eaten until they were nearly bursting. It had been Patrick who suggested they go down to the dump, which would be fairly quiet in the middle of a working day summer afternoon. By the time they arrived, the beans were doing their work quite nicely.